Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Brown. Welcome to the Hall Wines Happy Hour, the show where great minds drink alike. I'm so thrilled to be with you here today because I have an amazing guest who is such a cultural icon that I know you will all recognize. Alfonso Ribeiro, who's best known for playing Carlton on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as well as being the host of America's Funniest Home Videos, and also from winning Dancing with the Stars several years back. I'm so excited to be hosting him. Let's see if he's out there. Alfonso?
Hello,
Hey.
hello. How are you?
How are you?
I'm excellent. I see you have yours. I have mine.
Oh, fantastic. Well, shall we cheers then?
Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Go that way.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Cling.
Bing.
Okay, so Alfonso, I know you have lots of fans who are watching, and we're going to allow them to ask some questions because you so gracefully, I just combined two words there, gracefully said that you would answer their questions. But I thought before we did, I would do a little icebreaker and ask you some rapid fire questions if you're game for that.
Let's do it. I'm all in.
Okay. What song do you sing in the shower?
Lately, my son, AJ, has totally gotten into Michael Jackson. So, and I might have had some influence on that happening. But his two favorite songs right now is Dirty Diana and Man in the Mirror. So that song is being sung in the shower a lot lately. He's always kind of going, "Hey, Daddy, play Michael." Okay, and then put it on and.
I love that song. It's so good. Michael Jackson is so classic. And weren't you in a Michael Jackson video?
I was in his commercial, Pepsi commercial, back in 1984.
Oh,
yes. You weren't even born. It was a long time.
Actually, that's not true. I had just been born.
Okay.
Okay. So, what is your favorite app on your phone?
My favorite app. I'm gonna be absolutely honest.
Please.
There is a game that I play. I've been playing it for a while now. It's Toy Blast, and it's literally a game that you sit around and you try to. It's just you pop in and you gotta. It does all these kinds of things, and you have to put them together, and you gotta blow up the balloons in it. It's really childish. It's completely just your brain does nothing. So that's the one.
It sounds quite cerebral, actually. What is the last beverage that you drank before this glass of wine?
I was like, I mean, you mean right here? I've been sipping away. By the let's just go ahead and do it. I mean, it's right here. This is what we're doing. This is what we're working out. You know what? Probably trying to think. I like coconut water, so probably coconut water was maybe the last beverage that I had because typically I drink water most of the day.
Okay.
So I don't really drink a lot of other, drinks. So I think yesterday I had a Harvest.
Like that brand, Harvest Coconut or something.
Harvest, their coconut water.
Okay, I like that too. What is your best pandemic binge watch?
Well, I didn't do a lot of binge watching. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing nap time with my now 2-year-old.
Okay.
So I would nap every day with her. And eventually I started just watching movies. So I would like throw on Netflix or, Hulu or something like that. And I would just watch a movie. I didn't binge watch a lot of shows. I'm trying to think. Babe, did I binge watch anything? The Ozarks. I didn't watch that. Yes. So sometimes I need wifey to help from the other room.
I think we all need a little support sometimes.
I did watch the Ozarks. I supported my boy, Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman, that's such a good show and kind of eerie too.
Yeah, eerie, crazy, weird, but fun. So we did watch that at the beginning of the pandemic. I think we binged through that.
Okay, nice. And then lastly, you're such a multi-talented person. You can act, you can sing, you can direct, dance. if you could do one thing for the rest of your life, but only one, which one would you choose?
I would, weirdly enough, it's the one thing I don't make any money off of. But I would sing. If I had to do one thing the rest of my life, I could only do one thing, it'd be sing. But if we're actually talking real career, I would continue hosting. I would host the rest of my life. I do love, acting, and I love dancing and singing, but hosting career-wise is the thing that I'm actually enjoying doing.
Really?
Yeah. I get to be me, right? So I don't have to become someone else. I don't have to try to do anything else. I get to go up there and kind of be me on a stage. Of course, everything's written, but it's just me being me. It's easy. It's fun. I can be silly. If I'm in a mood to be silly, I can be silly. If I want to be serious, I can be serious. It's the one that I really am truly enjoying. And I know that I would enjoy it the rest of my life.
Well, that's so amazing. I'm so happy for you that you're doing the thing now that you think you would enjoy doing for the rest of your life. Not many people can say that. That's fantastic.
I feel very fortunate that in my life right now, I'm getting to do what I love to do. Most people, can't say that. And so to be doing it for 40 years, but I'm doing the one thing right now that I'm enjoying the most makes me very, very happy and feel very lucky.
Well, we've all enjoyed watching you over those years. And actually something I wanted to ask you was, there's been so many people that have been part of hit shows or, hit movies or, one-time wonders, if you will. But for you, you've really been a part of a lot of hit shows, and you've had quite a longevity in your career. What is your secret, do you think, for having worked for so long?
I think, it's hard to ever say. It's hard to say, how do you know why people like you, right? You just never really know. But for me, it's been being true to myself, always doing something because I want to do it and I enjoy doing it, and not, becoming someone else that I don't want to ever be. I am a glass half full kind of guy. And I think that has always kind of rolled over into my work, and it's in my personal life. And so I believe that probably is the number one factor to my longevity is, I'm a happy person. And so I want everyone around me to be happy. And so, at times that's at my job. Right. So, and I think, every episode wasn't the greatest episode in the world, but everybody watching it felt how much joy we had making it. And somehow that joy translated and came through the airways right onto the screen. And I think people felt it. And I felt like that's why even in syndication, it lasted so long. It's because we were having fun and everybody else saw that.
100%. I mean, I grew up watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it was the highlight of my week. I think I mostly probably watched it on reruns. I didn't watch it when it aired on Monday nights. But I feel like I learned a lot about the world. It was probably one of the first places that I saw, other than The Cosby Show, a Black family probably, on TV, which I think is so important. And I learned a lot about, real life issues, but it also was just so entertaining, and it was just really delightful to watch. And so I'm so grateful for you and the rest of the cast for creating something so fantastic.
Yeah, I always felt like, we did tackle some serious topics every once in a while, but we did it in a way that was never preachy. We were never telling you what was right and wrong. We simply just posed the question and allowed you to think about it yourself. This is what our experience might be. How do you feel about that is on you to feel it. We're not going to tell you how you're supposed to feel. We just allowed you to feel it. And I think that allowed everyone to have their own personal experience with the show rather than being preached to.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. There was a lot to be learned, but it wasn't, it didn't come across in a corny or preachy way for sure, like some other shows might have.
Right.
Well, so speaking of having a lot of fans and being part of something that brought a lot of fans to you, what is one of the strangest requests that you've ever received from a fan? I'm sure you've gotten a number of them.
I mean, most of the requests I ever get is really, can you do the dance?
I love that.
So
Yeah.
I get that the most. You know, there's nothing that really stands out in my mind in terms of one thing that someone might have asked. There's some interesting fans out there that have come across my my timeline through the years, but nothing that I would say is that outlandish. I mean, obviously, like I said, doing the dance, people ask that all the time, but yeah, I don't like. I guess I'm lucky in that one that I don't have anyone. I don't have one that stands out that's like absolutely insane.
Right. Okay. Well, that you are lucky in that regard then.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of fans, I know we're getting a number of audience questions, so we will take an audience question here too. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of a layup, but
Yeah.
what's your favorite wine?
Well, I will say that it's I'm a Chardonnay grape. So I love my Chardonnays. For some reason, I've always loved a California Chard. It's been my favorite wines from very, very early on as I started to enjoy wine. I will say, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before we came on air, but the Bob's Ranch Walt Chardonnay is absolutely fantastic and just sits there right at the top of my list with all of my favorites. It is just it's so well-rounded and balanced, and it has that buttery but not overly gooey. I don't know if that's a real wine term.
Yeah.
But sometimes a wine can get so buttery that it's almost like it's gooey in your mouth, whereas this still has that crispness, but still well-rounded, and the fruit in it, it's a wonderful wine.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Alfonso. I hope we can make a commercial out of those 30 seconds. By the way,
if you don't like your wine gooey,
you're looking for another, yeah, seriously, if you're looking for another job description that you can add to your long list of jobs that you've done, I think wine description writer could also fit on the list.
Yes, gooey. It's one we all love.
The one we all love. No, I was telling you earlier that so that wine comes from my family's vineyard on the Sonoma coast, which is a really cool area because it's very close to the Pacific Ocean, and so you still get warm temperatures that give it that really nice sort of American sort of roundness that I think you and I both like. But it also, from the breezes from the ocean, keeps the temperatures cooler, so that makes it still crisp and still have that nice acidity that makes it pair well with wine and makes it mouth-watering too.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, I've always, and it's weird because I've always thought that wines that were too close to the coast typically loses a lot of that well-roundedness that you get. Like, a Sauvignon Blanc, you understand it over there, right? But the idea that it's being well-rounded near the coast. I mean, you guys have done a great job with that, because I've always, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I've always known it to be hard to create that well-roundedness being, it almost has Napa, tastes and roundness, but yet it's a Sonoma.
Yes. No, I think that you're exactly right. It is harder to get that full body roundness. I mean, part of that is in the winemaking. So we do put it in oak barrels, and so that does create a little bit of the roundness too. But I think it's also, this particular vineyard is, well, I'm a little biased, but it's definitely a special vineyard that helps create some of that body as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to Erica for asking that question. Well, let's talk a little bit about this wine too that we're drinking. So Alfonso and I are drinking our 2017 Kathryn Hall Cabernet. And if anyone's been to visit us, you'll see that bunny is our trademark. When I was a kid, my brother and I used to sing Little Bunny Foo-Foo, the nursery rhyme. But in our family, we don't sing Through the Forest, we sing Hoppin' Through the Vineyard. And so my parents commissioned an artist to create this beautiful bunny that's right on Highway 29 in St. Helena in the middle of Napa Valley, that if you guys come to see us, you'll see. right out front. But so Kathryn Hall, it's named after my mom. It's probably our sort of pinnacle flagship Cabernet that we make. It comes from a vineyard right around our family's home in Rutherford, California, which is up on a hillside. And the reason why hillside fruit's interesting is because the vines have to dig really deep into the volcanic soil, and it makes the berry size small. So it makes the flavor profile more intense. So you have a good combination of more intense tannins, but also you still have some nice fruit. So it's a big wine, certainly. Right. But I still like it because it's still got a little bit of approachability from the fruit character. So you can still drink it now. Right. You can age it for 5 to 10 years, but it's still good to drink now too.
Well, I'm definitely, because I opened this obviously now about 40 minutes ago, and maybe 30 minutes ago, and it's really opening up really nice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you, as we all know, the first sip, it's like it was a little crisp, a little harsher. Yes. But now that it's warm, and now that it's opening up, it's a lot. I mean, it's just really smooth.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't necessarily like this term, but some people call this wine a feminine wine. There's probably an old-fashioned terminology of calling some wines masculine and some wines feminine. And this wine would be more on the feminine side because it still has a lot of structure, but because it's got those elegant, smooth tannins, some people would call it a feminine wine too.
Well, that's very interesting to me because that's I wouldn't know the difference between a male and female wine. But as you're saying that, I'm understanding what you're saying, right? Like I've had some cabs that you're like, whoa, yes, right? Like it just hits you hard, which I've never liked. Which is probably why I tend to go more toward a Chardonnay, right, or even a Pinot Grigio. I would do all of those before I would end up, trying a red wine. This is smooth. It doesn't have that kick or that aftertaste. It feels like there's almost like a burning, right? Yes. That you get from some wines. Yes. This feels very smooth. So I understand that might be a male take versus this being the female take, but you know what? I'm fine with the ladies.
Well, good, as am I. Cheers.
Those ladies right there.
That's too funny. Well, thank you so much. If anyone has any questions about the wine, of course, chat them here on Facebook Live. But I want to ask you more questions. As I mentioned, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is an iconic show. I can't believe it only ran for 6 seasons. Like in my mind, it ran for 10 plus. It was so influential in my life and everyone else's lives. But I would love to know about the reunion that you guys had. I watched it on HBO Max, and it was incredibly touching to see you guys all come together and still have so much love for each other. But I'd love to know what it was like from your perspective to come back after all these years and be with each other.
The interesting thing for all of us is the fact that we get together all the time.
Oh, you right? Do? It's just a normal night.
So when people are like, it's a reunion, they got together. It was like, no, we just told y'all we got together, but we were already getting together. And so, I find it funny with the whole reunion thing, but this one was an actual reunion. Obviously we did get together. What was cool for me was going back on what seemed like the set. Right. Sitting there, it wasn't the exact set. There were things that were very different, but just sitting in that room, feeling like it was the vibe of us being together. What I enjoyed the most was talking about our past, talking about how we did the show, things that we changed in the game of sitcom. We were one of the first shows where a cast actually had say and had a voice for their characters. 90% of the time you see on any show, it's like, hey, actor, shut up, do your lines. We actually had such a huge part in, molding and shaping each episode. And so being able to share that and share the fun that we had and the love that we had and the tribute that we were able to give to the late, great James Avery, to me was what was the most special about doing it. We get together every once in a while and see each other. We don't always do it at the same time, right? Like Joseph Marcel is in the UK. He can't be here right, all the time to do it. But the fact that we were able to do it all together made it very, very nice for all of us. And I was very proud of Will and his company for the way in which they put this together. The directors and producers did a fantastic job. They really told our story. They didn't have their own stories that they wanted us to tell. And that kind of made it a little extra special to watch it and see it. Because it really was like, yeah, that's our story. That's our journey.
No, I was really so impressed. I had no idea how much influence you guys had. And you talked about it in the reunion about how on Mondays you would do the table read and then Tuesdays do the blocking. And that's where you really started to introduce more of the actors' ideas about the script and how you molded it together. That was really neat.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely, we'd all have our take on it, right? And the best part of that was the fact that we had our take, but we were also accepting of someone not agreeing with our take, right? Because that's really, the thing that you have to deal with a lot of artists is, no, I'm right, because it's my idea. And it's like, no, that may not be right. But at least if you believe in it and you feel it, go ahead and let's play, right? Because it might not be right, but there might be something in it that the writers could find. We'd have writers that would sit on stage with us to make sure that, that essentially everybody, whatever they saw, whatever they, ooh, that was a moment. Ooh, that could do this. And then they would, put it into the script. So it was very cool.
Cool. Oh, that's so cool. I have so many more questions I could ask, but I know we're getting a number of audience questions. And one iconic show you were also in was called Silver Spoons. So let's take that audience question. Is and they're asking, will there ever be a Silver Spoons reunion? From Laura Stapp.
I would assume no reason to have a Silver Spoons reunion. What's weird is Silver Spoons actually probably had double the ratings of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when it was live.
Really?
But that was a time when TV was different, right? So in the 80s,
there were fewer.
A relatively popular show might have 27 million people watching. Right. And then in the 90s, if you had, 12 million people watching, you were a hit show. So it always changed. But look, the other star of the show is going through some stuff right now in his life. I say we probably won't have a reunion. We're going to let that one not
happen. Okay. All right. We'll let that one stay. I do want to talk a little bit about America's Funniest Home Videos, which you've now been hosting for a number of years. How did you land that role? And I know you said earlier that hosting has become such a joy for you and you've enjoyed it. It's become natural. Did you foresee that happening, or was that a total surprise?
So when I did Dancing with the Stars, obviously worked with Tom Bergeron, and Tom had told us that he was leaving the show. So he was leaving AFV. So, but he went to the network in the studio and said, I think Alfonso would be a great person to take over for me. So he gave me full blessing. And so after I won, the network brought me in to sit down and talk about, was there anything that I wanted to do? And there was a poster of Tom Bergeron on Rob Mills's, wall. And he was like, what are you interested in doing? I was like, I want to do that. And he goes, well, that's perfect, because that's something we'd love for you to do. So the process was started. I still had to do it just like everybody else. I had to go and test and do all of the stuff that everyone needed to do to there were a lot of other stars that were vying for that position.
Sure.
But I was lucky enough to get it, and they tested everybody. They put it out to the audience and did a testing with everybody, and the audience came back in my favor. So I was lucky, and Tom was a huge part in that, and it was just weird that I would actually get to choose what I wanted to do. It doesn't happen very often in this business. But I was fortunate, and I've been running away with it ever since. I've been the luckiest man on the planet.
Well, that's amazing. And I also think my hat's off to you at AFV for adapting during the pandemic too, because I know you previously were in front of a live audience, and then during COVID, you did such a great job bringing people in through Zoom. And then now you're back in front of a live audience. So what has that transition been like for you? Are you happy to now be in front of a live audience?
Well, we're going to be in front of a live audience. We haven't filmed any of those episodes yet, so we will end up being in front of a live audience. There's still a lot of talk on how and which we'll do that in terms of, you know, where the audience will be as in relation to me. You know, I became a huge fan of the Zoom audience being there. I feel like it's that next step toward today's, you know, technology, right? Like it's going to feel more like what today is like, because the after pandemic world will have a whole lot of Zooming going on. So I think there's going to be a wonderful, you know, mesh of both worlds. I've always enjoyed the audience, but I actually enjoyed it just the same having them on Zoom. So yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be pretty much more of the same, right? I mean, when I do what I do, I don't worry about them. I'm kind of in my own world and I just do what I do. But I do feel the energy in the room. And so that energy in the room will play a huge part in, you know, how it all, you know, works, right?
I'm sure. And I know a lot of people make that a huge part of their weekend too, is watching your show. I did want to ask you too about your new show that just premiered recently, AFV Animal. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah.
So, you know, look, we do so many different segments on the show, but this show lends itself to every different, like, genre, really, right? Like we have animals, like our dog park and all the animal videos that we show are shows that people love, right? And we have all the people videos, and we've got the kids, and we've got the epic fails, and we could literally, you know, compartmentalize this show into 5 different shows, and we have enough material to be able to do that. But for Nat Geo, this show, AFV Animal Edition, it's very cable, so it has a very different vibe to it than you know, our ABC show. But it really is fun. It's funny. These animals, the videos we get, you know, they're pets, they're wild animals, they're zoo animals, they're safari animals, they're all everything in between. And I'm more narrating everything than you know. There's nobody else talking because they're animals.
You're not hosting animals.
I have to talk a lot more. But we're doing a few more segments that are things that we, you know, wouldn't normally do on the big show. But it really is funny, and we're also teaching people. So we're learning things about these animals. We don't want it to just be comedy. We also want it to be educational. Did you know that rabbits are not supposed to eat carrots?
No, I thought that you were supposed to give them carrots.
No, it's in the wild. It's actually bad for them, and they don't really eat carrots. So something we've grown up our entire lives with Bugs Bunny believing that you're supposed a carrot. You give a rabbit, you give them a carrot. Not good for them.
Well, there you go.
A little something.
I learned
a little drop for you right there.
Full knowledge. I like it. Well, thank you so much, Alfonso. This has been so fun. Are there any last words that you want to share with your fans who are watching you?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for the years of support and the fact that people continue to keep watching and keep supporting me in all the different things that I'm doing. So thank you. Thank you all so much for allowing me to you know, to do what I love to do. You know, I have a game show on Game Show Network. I was just nominated for my 2nd daytime Emmy, which was very cool, you know, and hopefully the fans will give me the nod this year. But at the end of the day, you know, I feel blessed, I feel loved, and I thank everyone for continuing to support me.
Well, thank you so much. You've brought so much joy to our lives and continue to do that. So we're excited to keep watching you on all of the endeavors that you're doing. So
yes, thank you. Thank you. Cheers to you, and I will see you at the winery.
I can't wait. I'll see you there.
Coming up. We're coming up.
Okay, good. All right, bye.
Thank you.
Well, that was so much fun. Alfonso Ribeiro, everybody, what a treasure. I was really lucky to be able to interview him here today. If you don't know us here at Hall Wines, please be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We do happy hours every week with great guests. And really what I want to say is cheers to your next adventure and the wine that finds your glass.